We're going to take breaks after each segment, so if you have candidate questions, feel free.
Are you working for a paper, Miss Ronnie?
The Louisiana Press Journal.
Are you really?
No,
Hello. Okay.
it's his fault though.
Time's up. I want to thank everybody that's here this evening for the forum for school board and council for the city elections. Appreciate the participation. Every candidate has been hand-delivered an invitation to be here. There are 2 or 3 people that are unable to be here this evening, and Brent will give their names. Again, I want to thank you, and I hope this is a very productive and educational night for everybody. Thank you very much. Brent?
Thank you, Bob. Bob is the person who put this together. He, his lovely wife, and I believe a family member, tore down from a job fair that ended at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Tables were strung out throughout here and put up all these chairs. He's the one who organized this. He took care of the invitations. He's the one who is at the heart of doing this, and I think we need to give him a big hand. Now, as you heard, my name is Brent Engel. Most of you know me. I am going to be your moderator for this evening. I've spent almost 30 years as a print, broadcast journalist, and as a public relations person. So I've been through a few of these in the past. If this is your first time at a candidates forum, however, you're going to get to witness a truly American form of political discourse. Our founding fathers, as we very well know, got it right in so many ways. They set up a unique type of government that holds the people we elect accountable to us. There are very few countries when America was founded that did that. And we choose from whom we want to represent us. It is our responsibility to choose wisely. Now, I know there's been a lot of hostility concerning this election at meetings, on the street, and on those so-called social media sites. I don't think they're very social if they are being mean, but guess what? This ain't the place for that kind of trash talk. And for those who say, well, so-and-so has lived here for only 20 years, what does he know? I offer this. Believe it or not, all of us are immigrants to this community. Your family may have come 200 years ago. I came 17 years ago, and some of you may have arrived in the last 12 months. But all of us love Louisiana, and we want to see it prosper, whether it be the city or our schools. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, you'll hear tonight from the first ward candidates, the second ward candidates, the fourth ward candidates, and the candidates for school board. These contested races will be decided on April 8th. My experience with forums of this type have taught me what seems to work best. Here's how we'll do it. Candidates will take turns answering questions that were submitted by you and the news media. Each will have 2 minutes to answer, with their opponents then having 2 minutes each to respond, even if that question isn't directly given to them, or isn't specifically directed to them. A signal will be given when candidates have 15 seconds remaining. Candidates, that's your signal. I will cut off anybody who exceeds that 2-minute time limit. And believe me, I've done it before. Not here, but I've done it before. In the council races, the candidates in the first and second wards will get 4 questions. This will give each candidate an opportunity to answer 2 questions first. Now, in the fourth ward race, there are 3 candidates, and because of time constraints, those candidates will get answer 3 questions each. That will give them an opportunity to go first everyone to go first, at least once. For the school board race, there will also be 3 questions, because 2 of the candidates couldn't be with us tonight, or one is withdrawn, and the other had a work commitment. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer 1 question for the school board race. At the end of each question and answer session, candidates, you will be given 2 minutes to summarize your campaigns. You may say whatever you want, but I ask you to keep it to what you want to do if elected. Candidates may not ask questions of each other, and I encourage you to answer directly to each question and avoid personal attacks. Now, should I believe that any of you are engaging in personal attacks, I'll give you 1 verbal warning. Should it happen again, I'll ask you to step down from the stage. Please be respectful. You may disagree with each other, but have the courtesy not to demean or degrade your opponent. Now, to be fair to each candidate and give them time to answer the questions, I ask you in the audience to withhold your applause until the end of each segment. And at the end of, once each segment is completed, there will be a 5-minute break. So if you have a follow-up question you want to ask a candidate, please do so. The other thing is, I'd like for people to stay if they can. Now, if you have to leave, that's fine. Please try to do it on a break, though. We ask only that. If you have to leave for an emergency, please feel free to do so. Now, most of the questions we'll ask tonight came from you, because Bob brought me a whole bucket full of them. There are only a couple submitted by the news media. Your question may not get asked because there were so many. So keep that in mind. If you don't hear your question asked, go up and ask the candidate. That's why we're voting on it. But questions of a libelous or lascivious nature were thrown out, and there was 1 question thrown out. Some inquiries may not be answered because of the time limit. One other thing that I'd like to mention, if you do finish before your 2 minutes are up, candidates, please acknowledge that to me. Just nod your head or give me a wave or say I'm done. Sometimes candidates say what they want in 10 seconds, and that's all they need. So keep that in mind, and that way maybe we can get a few more questions in. Now, American Legion Post 370 agreed to sponsor this candidates forum solely as a community service, and neither the organization nor its members specifically or publicly endorse any candidate for election. I mentioned that all of us are immigrants and our families came here at some point. Well, one such person came to Louisiana as a young man. He would go on to co-author the 13th Amendment, outlawing slavery, and he probably had one of those on his desk too. And he was about 50 years ahead of his time in fighting for a woman's right to cast a ballot. Senator John Brooks Henderson once said that he wanted no other revolution than the right of the ballot box, because in America, elections force those in power to approve what was right and redress what was wrong solely through the consent of the people. That's us. We have no one to blame but ourselves if things don't turn out well. Now, before I start, I have a few disclosures to make to avoid any appearance of impropriety. I know both First Ward Council candidates well. I've done newspaper stories with Tim Carter when I was at the Hannibal Courier-Post, and he was fire chief there, and also when he moved to Louisiana and remodeled his downtown building. I've also been a guest at a party in that building. Most of you know I work at NECAC as the public relations officer. As such, I work frequently with the other First Ward candidate, Neil Darnell. I've done many stories with him and taken many photos. In fact, we did a story together today. In the Second Ward, I've done stories about the pewter business of candidate Tom Hooper. And in the Fourth Ward, I've worked on a John Brooks Henderson project with Lori Helke. And in addition, Jim Batt Jr. is my mechanic, and I've spent many an hour at his downtown garage. But that's my fault, not his. As for the school board candidates, Darrell Wallace presided at the meeting at which Betty Allen and I did present information about John Brooks Henderson. I think that takes care of it. If any others come up, I'll mention them at some point. Let us have a frank, open discussion of the issues that are facing our community, And let us be thankful for that privilege, because there are a lot of people in the world tonight who don't have that. I will not now ask the candidates for First Ward City Council to come to the table, please. How about a handshake, gentlemen, to start it off? Now, we'll go by ballot order. That's how we determine who answers first. So in this race, Mr. Carter will answer the first question, then Mr. Darnell will be given 2 minutes to respond. The second question will be Mr. Darnell's turn to take the first response. Gentlemen, if elected, would you support a community improvement district as a means to raise the funds needed to repair and replace infrastructure? Mr. Carter, you have 2 minutes as soon as you start talking.
I probably will not support a CID, mainly because there are lots of streets in Louisiana that needs repaired. Something that's a little bit more incumbency that will represent all the residents of Louisiana would be more in order. I'd be favoring some sort of other income revenue to accomplish that. There's a lot of things that we as a city need to do prior to asking the citizens for a tax raise or an increase. I understand the community improvement district solely looks at the businesses along the district that they're within or the residents, depending on how it's set up. I think something of that nature, if that district does establish itself and want to go ahead and form that district, as a councilman, I would support that. However, I would not push that. That'd be up to those residents or those business owners in that district to do so. I would rather see a tax later on down the road, once we get all of our ducks in order as a city council, as far as city government, make sure that we are taking care of our infrastructure, whether it be streets, water, sewer, fire protection, or law enforcement. Those things are the paramount peers or paramount for the city. And that's why we are a city. And that's why we are established as a city government to provide those services. If we can't control or maintain those services and infrastructure, how can we go ahead and expand and continue to spend money for further projects if we can't take care of what we've already had? I know we have limited funds, but that makes it more important to utilize those funds more appropriately and efficiently.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Darnell, you have 2 minutes to respond from the time you start talking.
He actually could have taken some of my time because my answer will be very brief. I will admit I am ignorant on a lot of issues as far as taxes and CIDs and what have you. I don't know a CID from DOC. So one of those things that I am confident, though, is that I will learn about those. I know I will go through training in being a city council member, and I'll learn all about what those things are. And as far as taxation, if taxes are necessary, so be it. If it improves the city, then I will approve it. If it doesn't improve the city, if it doesn't fit my ward, then no, it doesn't. The end.
I'm sorry I hit that inadvertently.
Understand.
You had plenty of time left.
I was done.
Second question, you will have the first chance to respond, Mr. Darnell. Do you feel that more can be accomplished for the city if council members compromise and work together? You have 2 minutes, sir.
One word, definitely, but I'll answer more. In the last 10 years, the last decade, I've been ashamed of what I've seen out of council. I've lived in Bowling Green for 8 of those years, and reading the Louisiana newspaper, it just kind of made me sick about how I would see some vindictiveness, just being just being shouldered by the individual council members. It seemed that they all fit a personal agenda rather than the agenda of the city. The attacks that were made, the confusion that was made in city council regarding, I'll just go ahead and say it, the Robin Moore situation, when there was a proceeding rather than a resignation and nobody had the guts to step up and say, this is wrong. Nobody had the guts to step up and say, what did we vote on again, and let's do this again. I was quite ashamed of the city, to be honest, because I don't think it was represented fairly. I didn't know Robin that well at the time, and I can tell you that I still didn't feel right about it. Then when the last election, it seemed, to my opinion, it was going to be a 4-4 tie, with Mayor Wallace being the tiebreaker. And so, even though progress was made to promote that coherent teamwork, I just didn't see how that was going to really help the situation. So one of the tasks at hand came up that was presented to me in running for council this year. And so that's what I chose to do. I chose to promote teamwork. I chose to work together. If we have issues, let's settle it. And be open, be transparent. That is the goal that I have in running for council, is to commit to transparency in the city. And I'll cover more on that later. I'm done.
Thank you. Mr. Carter, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Thank you. Look around, everyone that's in here, all the candidates that are running, everyone wants what's best for Louisiana, ultimately. The city council right now wants what's best for Louisiana. There are differences in opinions. We all know that. And we all got to work together to accomplish some positives. And I admit, following the politics over the last year and a half, 2 years, it didn't seem like we got a lot accomplished. We didn't even, as a city, respond to some of the actions that were taking place. You know, we're at fault for that. That's one of the reasons why I'm running. I honestly think that I can contribute to an atmosphere of working together, whether we disagree with our opinions of how an issue should be addressed. But one thing that we shall, if I'm elected, is agree to disagree if we do not form a consensus. Ultimately, we got to form a consensus and move forward positively for the community. This motto that I put out on all my signs, moving forward, I'm not interested in looking at our history anymore. What's happened last year, what happened last week. We need to move forward and do things for the community. The community needs to be involved. One of the things that I see as a downfall as city government is the location where we have our meetings. Look at this facility right here. If we had a larger facility, maybe we can get a little bit more participation of the community. So yes, to answer the question, I'm all in favor of working together. We can agree to disagree if we don't have a consensus, but at least we're not going to belittle anyone and act accordingly.
Thank you, sir. Third question, Mr. Carter, you get the chance to respond first. Louisiana lacks a realistic vision and strategic plan for growth, according to this question. How can that be changed? You have 2 minutes to respond, sir.
We find ourselves in a situation that didn't happen overnight. I mean, there are some mitigating factors that happen with some of the plant closures and such that really impacted our community. Look at our country. It didn't happen overnight. The fix is not going to happen overnight either. It's going to take a little while to get things moving forward again. So, as I stated earlier with one of the previous questions, we need to look at our infrastructure. We need a clean house, so to speak. We need to get along. We need to work issues out. We need to provide the vital services that this community expects the city to provide. That's an appropriate and responsive police department, fire department, street department, and utilities and public services such as the Parks Department. If we can't operate effectively as a council, we cannot expect any of our city employees to operate effectively either. Now, with that being said, if we can't do any of those, how do we expect anyone to come in here and set up shop? You know, what do we offer someone to come in and start a business? We don't offer too much. Now, I came here because I love the area. I'm from northeast Missouri. I've always lived along the river, and we lucked out and purchasing the building we are in now. We did that by choice. I mean, we've been looking everywhere, but we chose Louisiana because we see the potential in Louisiana. So after we get done cleaning house and taking care of what we need to take care of as a community, then we need to move forward and try to bring in business however we need to. Doing downtown, I own a business downtown or a building downtown.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Darnell, you have 2 minutes to respond.
It is hard to believe we don't have a plan in place already. We've been a city of Louisiana for how long, and there's not a strategic plan in place, really? So I hate to start with negative, but that's the big elephant in the room question right now is why not now? So obviously you need to have a plan in order to succeed. Every business knows that. Every person going through school should know that. You need to have a plan going forward. However, if you're counting on council to solve all the problems, you need to look in the mirror. People make things happen, not just group. Got to get involved with the city in order for things to happen. Another thing that happens, don't talk, bringing business in, clean up the city, don't just clean up the council. There are so many buildings, so many areas, so many yards that are trashed. Look up and down 3rd Street. So, I mean, and no offense to our code enforcement officer, but what is holding him back from doing that? That's a question that needs to be brought up in council, and it probably will be, whether I'm in charge in first ward or not. The end.
Thank you, sir. This next question comes from the audience and is a follow-up in a way. And Mr. Darnell, you will get the first chance to respond. What are your specific plans to bring businesses and jobs to Louisiana? You have 2 minutes, sir.
Kind of covered it in the last answer, but cleaning up the city would sure help. When you bring in new businesses from outside the area, it sure would be nice to have something nice to look at when they come into town. We have some beautiful buildings. We have a beautiful riverfront, but we have some eyesores. And when businesses come in and look at that, and then they see a population of 3,000 people, and they're not cleaning up the area, it's kind of hard to bring them in. There are many talents that we have within our community that can be turned into businesses. I mean, if you have sewing, I mean, we had a wonderful Shirley shop way back in the day. You know, and why not bring that back? All it takes is just getting a simple business license to do that. Just find your talents and create it. And then finally, the people that are citizens that shop, buy local. That's how you bring growth into a community. I mean, anybody can bring a sewing shop in, but if you still go and go online and shop there, if you go to Quincy and shop there, you're not doing the city a bit of good. I mean, you can bring any business in here, but if you don't shop there, and even county market, you bring county market in, if you still go to Walmart, what good are you doing? That's it, the end.
Mr. Carter, you have 2 minutes to respond.
This kind of carries on from the last question. Same for you, same. But as I was stating earlier, we got to take care of ourselves first and start moving positively forward. As far as bringing in businesses into town, we got to make them want to come here. Some of the things that I've been noticing lately is we got some things moving. And we got Wholesome down here. What are we doing to push that and promote that and make sure that they come in and do something with that facility down south? let's get involved regionally and make sure that we promote Louisiana, okay? Fixing downtown, I'm a building owner downtown, and beautifying my building or the lot and bringing businesses in downtown is not going to do much for the normal resident of Louisiana. It's going to benefit a few. But what we need to do is promote the industry, like Wholesome facility can provide, other facilities that would be beneficial to the community, whether it be a telemarketing center or whether it be some sort of clothing factory. I know that'd probably be very unlikely nowadays, but something of that nature that will promote residents, to get them jobs. But I'm a strong believer that we can't do any of that except what's already hanging out there unless we take care of our house first. Every city employee should have a pride of some degree of being an employee of the city. They represent the city. All the citizens out there that see the city workers working should know that we are moving forward and trying to, clean house. I don't know how many times I said clean house tonight, but I apologize.
Thank you, sir.
I'm gonna go and clean mine now. Thanks.
Yes.
Another media question. All but except one of those first 4 questions were from you, the audience, and we appreciate it. Gentlemen, we've reached the end of this segment. You will now be given 2 minutes each to say whatever you'd like about your campaign. Mr. Carter, since you were first on the ballot, you will get to go first. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Brent. I want to thank everyone for showing up tonight. We all have things to do. I got things to do and so forth, but this is very important. It's important to hear what your candidates have to say. And it's also important to hear the citizens, the questions they have to ask. Whether Neil Darnell wins the election or myself, I think it's going to be a positive. Whether one of the 5 mayoral candidates win, doesn't make any difference. We're going to be positive. We're going to be moving forward. Whether you're 2nd Ward, 4th Ward, we're going to be moving forward positively. And I earnestly believe that. So as far as my candidacy, I honestly and earnestly think that I can provide some sort of input, positive input, reach it across with ideas and expand upon those ideas and make sure they come to fruition for this community. I wasn't asked to run. I started attending city meetings when I started dealing with the lot next to my building. And every single one of those councilmen that sits on that board tonight or today are there for the right reasons as well. Now, for whatever reason, there's been some turmoil. Now, do I have an answer for that specifically? It's going to be more or less being able to reach across and shake hands. And that's what's needed. We can agree to disagree and still move forward. But bottom line is we're going to have to move forward. We're going to have to get some of the stuff behind us. And I think we can do that, again, like I said, regardless who's elected this coming April 8th. And nonetheless, get out there and vote, please.
Thank you very much. Mr. Darnell, you have 2 minutes, sir.
I do agree we have to move forward because looking back is not a very pretty sight. But I hate, I know I've been up here and he's been the positive one, we have to do this, we have to do that, and I've been more the negative one of, curse you guys for whatever. But I don't mean to be that way. It's just that I speak my mind and sometimes it rubs people the wrong way, and that's just the way it is. I was born and raised here in Louisiana. I have a lovely wife, 13 years, 3 wonderful kids. Couldn't be more proud of them. And to be honest, my youngest son, Christian, 1-year-old, has as much experience in politics as I do. So, so there you go. I do believe in a transparent government. A lack of transparency leads to something being hidden. When you're trying to hide something, It builds curiosity. When you build curiosity, or curiosity is not satisfied, it leads to frustration. When you have frustration, you have dissension. When you have dissension, you have destruction. When you have destruction, no progress is possible. You have to have transparency in government. That gets away, that takes every excuse away from having a backdoor room to discuss, to complain, to gripe, to moan, groan, another 5-letter word everybody's thinking of right now. We don't have that if we have transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, please shake hands and we'll take a 5-minute break.
I'm sorry. It was something I meant to bring over earlier today.
I thought,
or
well,
email to
should I ask this after whatever we have to do?
you. That's fine. That's fine.